Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Infopulse TelcoTalks, our very special series where we talk with the people from all around the telecom world about the topics that matter. And today, our topic is communications in times of crisis, which the topic comes with a bit of bitter taste, as we're going to focus on the challenges that the Ukrainian telecom industry faced as the Russian invasion to Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022 started, where millions of Ukrainians became afraid to lose what they value most and what is the most critical in such dire circumstances, the communications to those who they love and to those who they care for. And to speak about this, we're going to be speaking with our very special guest from Vodafone Ukraine, who has 20 years of experience, and of them he spent in top 2 of Ukrainian mobile operators, and he is currently in Vodafone Ukraine, the head of IT operations, Yaroslav Michaluk. Hello, Yaroslav.
Hi, good to see you. Good to be here.
Yeah, of course. Infopulse, being a long-time partner of Vodafone Ukraine for more than 20 years now. And we also have our very own telecom expert joining our discussion, Viktor Galenko, who has 20 years of experience in the telco world, both in Europe, Asia, and locally in Ukraine. So, Viktor, hello, how are you doing?
Hello, thank you, Ilya. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, and also, of course, my name is Ilya, and I will be hosting this discussion for you. And just the last note for everyone who is watching, you have a chance to ask our speakers any questions you would like during the discussion. Please use the Q&A option of the platform that you are currently streaming this webinar in. So please do not hesitate to do so, and we will get back to these questions at the end of our discussions to make sure to address all of them. So without further ado, we have lots of topics to discuss. And the first question, of course, goes to Yaroslav. And I'm sure that everyone wants to have this general picture of the impact that this crisis had on one of the biggest Ukrainian operators, Vodafone Ukraine.
So, to be fair, nobody was ready for such kind of disaster. It is a disaster which happening right now in our country. And normally we are losing our people, we are losing our connection to these people because of Russian invasion. So some of the people are still located on the occupied territories. There is more than 400,000 people right there. And Russian just blocking any kind of connection to us. So physically we have no connection to them. And also a lot of people, more than 8 million, were relocated to Europe, and roughly 10 million were relocated to the western part of Ukraine. So that's actually how it is happening with the people.
Mm-hmm. So, and what are there any immediate negative effects that you noticed on the telecom sector and in Vodafone?
No, for sure. You should understand that as soon as the quantity of our subscribers is decreasing, so we may be having losses, direct losses. That's from one side. From second side, we also have dramatic damage of our infrastructure, which is all over Ukraine. And you should understand that the territory which was occupied previously and now free, and the territory which is occupied currently right now, if to combine all of this territory, you will see that it is bigger than some, not the smallest country in Europe. That's why the influence and the amount of hardware and services are huge and dramatic one.
So I guess you should have had some support from your Western partners, as considering all this migration of the subscribers you had. How exactly did Western partners participate in that?
For sure, be fair, let me say honestly, support of our Western partners, not only Europe, I'm talking about USA, Canada, Britain, Great Britain. So it is unbelievable, and we are really appreciated for that. So this support is not only on the side of the weapon, the support also for hosting our people, for helping us with the hardware, with the software, with free of charge, different kind of services. And from the European Union, it was a joint decision to which also America is connected for decreasing the cost of termination fee for outgoing calls, so we can provide to our people who are outside of Ukraine a special tariff from Vodafone Ukraine, that roaming like in Ukraine, so by standard tariff, Ukrainian tariff. So despite where you're in Europe, you are just like you're at home. And that's thankful to European Union, to European operators, to United States operators, and we appreciate. Thank you.
Well, that's really erasing borders between Ukraine and the Western world right now, and especially for the people, which is very important to keep them connected in such difficult times. Thank you for such an overview. But getting back to more kind of your area of expertise and a more practical impact on the Vodafone, did you notice any major effects on the IT infrastructure, Vodafone, when this war started?
Look, regarding IT infrastructure, so first of all, I will say two of them. Each is damage of the equipment, which is located on the occupied territories, and just destruction, let me be fair. And second one, it is attacks, so it is critical, some cybersecurity attacks. That's the mainly, there are lots of points under that, but regarding main one, two of them are those.
But I suppose that you should have had a chance to kind of mitigate this damage or kind of relocate the critical equipment or kind of save it. What can you tell us about that? Did you manage to do this?
Look, Russia was so fast, unfortunately, and that if equipment is under occupied territories or distracted, we couldn't do anything with that. But with respect to the equipment on the territories which was not occupied, for sure, we were moving parts of our equipment to different places. But it was really tricky process. You should understand that 5 or 6 kilometers from Kiev, from one of the border on the northern west side, was Russian forces. And
this was like in 2 days, immediately in 2 days after it started, right?
Exactly. Russian forces. And the column was roughly, from pictures of the Pixar, 35 kilometers just of Russian forces. And anyway, to the Western Europe, almost was blocked. All the bridges was just crashed, bombed, not bombed. Some of them are crashed, and only one road left, only one. And at that time, it was really very tricky to take the equipment and to put it to some other place. First of all, you need to be brave enough under really rocket attacks, which sounds all the time, to come to the office, to making somehow equipment to be dismounted, then put it to the car, and then put it to the lorry from that car. And for your information, not all the engineers was in place, so we were trying to find who is somebody living close to home. It was some developers, some administrators, some other guys, and ask them to come, and by video conference we just saying, okay guys, we will switch on some lights on the servers, you should see it, then please do this procedure, take out these cables, make this dismounting process, deliver to the car, and then later this car will be delivered to the truck, and this truck will start to move to another city. But this move is also a problematic one, as we have only hours when it's possible to move, the rest is forbidden, because it was really fights everywhere and looking for some groups who was trying to make a fight. So the truck was moving pretty slow. And normally the process which was taking like 6 hours could take 3-4 days. Likely enough, in such portions, we transferred the equipment. In 1.5 months, we was doing it continuously, and happily we received everything. Also, some specific keys which was on USBs was sent separately with other people with evacuation buses, and they also was delivered, thankfully, and the equipment was installed. So this kind of process saved some part of equipment, which was possible to save, was successful at that time.
And it is also like, you mean you had some Vodafone engineers learning basically new skills to ensure this, right? To relocate critical infrastructure.
Yeah, we have some of them. Be fair, it is not the best way to learn, but the result is more than acceptable, and we are really grateful to this guy, because it is really, to be fair, it's hardly to go when you just listen as each 5 minutes a huge bombing is somewhere left, right, 1 or 2 kilometers out. You will never know when it will or will not hit you or the building which is close to you.
I mean, that's really amazing. It's really fearless. But
yes,
I mean,
let's be fair, it is terrible, and it's very hard to understand it until you can come to this part. You know, the problem is that all of us look in lots of movies, and we are somehow okay. From the movies we see similar pictures, but when it is come to reality, it is totally different. Believe me, anybody could not understand it until you will feel it. And that's what I really don't want, that somebody will feel it the same as we.
Well, hopefully, not many people would have to feel that. But speaking more of the equipment, Vodafone Ukraine has a vast network of telco equipment and infrastructure across Ukraine, and I mean, telecom equipment could not just be taken and relocated, and some of it left on the occupied territories, which were kind of huge in the first days, and still there are some occupied territories there. What about the telecom equipment on these territories? Are there any risks of the enemy taking advantage of it, or it could be used in fraudulent ways? And I think Victor could help us with that.
Well, yeah, I think first of all, it's worth mentioning that I think all the telecom operators had a lot of projects to kind of relocate critical functions, I would say, together, of course, with related equipment, a long time before the war started. So I think there were systematic work on the kind of ensuring redundancy of the network and kind of moving the most critical nodes for network infrastructure closer to the western border. But of course, you're right. With that huge amount of telco equipment, and especially in radio access network and in transmission, it's just not possible to kind of to move out. Yeah, it stayed on that occupied territory. If you're asking about technical possibility, well, there is no kind of strict protection. I think the key protection mechanism is licensing that is kind of provided by vendors. And normally there is a license, for example, if that is base station, either provisioned directly to the node, or maybe kind of having a centralized license distribution server to which the node should connect first in order to start operation. Of course, in order to operate such equipment, you need experienced engineers, you need access to the latest versions of the software, you need to have support from vendors. So it's quite a complex measures. And on one hand, you need to have all this in place, but on another hand, there are no clear technical mechanism which might restrict usage of that equipment, which can guarantee that equipment will not be used in another network.
But if there's a way to mitigate this risk, at least if we cannot avoid them 100%, can we mitigate these risks?
Well, as I said, 100% probably it's not possible, but I think there are other mechanisms which should work in this situation. telecom world or kind of market is built on the trust between vendors and operators, or legal framework which exists between them. And of course, all the equipment that was supplied to one operator is known. The vendor has the proper database of that equipment. Operator also have this database. It can be, all the serial numbers at the end can be listed. The type of nodes can be listed. So I think here more legal mechanisms are applied, similar to sanctions that that Western world applied to Russia. And of course, I believe that it was properly done, and those lists of lost equipment have been shared between vendors and other operators. So if that equipment pops up in some other network, that would be visible. For example, you need to repair that, so you need to send that somewhere at some point of time to vendor, and then the serial number will be disclosed. So you see, there are still mechanisms to legally protect that equipment is not. So any operator that will try to use that, it will be just illegal. By the way, here, because Yaroslav has mentioned that a lot of equipment also has been lost during the war, and I'm curious to ask. I mean, normally for telecom, you need a lot of spare parts to operate the network, because you have a lot of different nodes in the network, a lot of different systems. And in the situation when you have lost partially the equipment, and you need maybe even more spare parts, and in a situation where logistics is nearly not functioning, then how you manage that type of problem with spare parts these days?
Yeah, to be fair, it was one of the biggest challenges for us. We have spare parts, but we are hosting them on our vendor side, so we have support contracts under which vendor should provide them some spare parts in 6, 8 hours or 4 hours. It depends from the contract. Unfortunately, biggest part of vendors were hosting their spare parts in the well-known warehouses of well-known companies like DHL, etc., etc. So, and the biggest amount of warehouses was immediately destroyed in 2 days after beginning of the war, just fully, completely with everything. And as soon as hardware started to get failure because of some malfunction, because of some disk or motherboard or anything else, or some specific type of equipment, physically could not be provided. And also, second problem is engineers from support companies was not also present as well, because they also was trying to move to some safe place. So we come one-to-one with shortage of spare part, physically destroyed, and shortage of engineer. It was pretty hard time, but it was.
But nice to hear that you've managed to do this in such an inventive way, and equipment security, and you know, it's one of the critical parts of the entire Vodafone Ukraine's achievements during this war. And speaking of that, did you face any specific IT challenges and threats relating to security of your network that could have affected your subscribers?
So let's divide it into 2 parts. First of all, just challenges regarding us, reaching network. Fortunately, we was lucky enough to have coronavirus, lucky enough, but at that time we had fully functioning.
I mean, who could have thought that we will be talking it this way? Like, we would happy enough to have coronavirus.
It helped a lot. We had a great, really VDI infrastructure, which gives us possibility to work with any PC, any laptop, wherever you're located. So this kind of online activity is okay. So from that side, it was no issues. Anybody can connect and work under that, and people was really working from different sides of the world. Let me be fair like that. And secondly, regarding security, I will tell you honestly that we were facing dramatic increase of different attacks. Mainly, they were focused on 3 of them, like DDoS, some phishing attacks, lots of emails with this one, and some searching where we have some vulnerabilities. But lucky enough, till now, we was strong enough to couple with it.
Yaroslav, I also heard that a lot of help you got from vendors to ensure better security. Or how that looked like?
That's true. Actually, immediately, I think in first week, I got a lot of calls and emails from vendors, even with which we are not working. We are a big company. We Vodafone have almost 20 million subscribers. So we have a really huge amount of hardware. But all companies who could provide the services, especially in the cloud, was coming to us and saying, we're ready to put you to the cloud free of charge. And thank you, and thank them for that. We're ready to provide you virtual firewalls. We're ready to provide you virtual licenses which we can use. And all of them was trying to help. All, I'm really saying all, starting from Microsoft, Oracle, Cisco, HP, and continuing to the less known companies. But all of them was proposing their services, either on-prem but virtual machine, because we know the delivery of the parts was a very tricky case. So either virtual one or in cloud.
Okay, thank you for that. And about the Vodafone employees, all right, so we didn't speak much about them. What about them? Were there any business continuity safety plans implemented by Vodafone Ukraine, or are they generally safe now, Vodafone Ukraine employees?
Currently, all Vodafone Ukrainian employees are in safe place. They are either on the already deoccupied territories or on the western part of Ukraine, either in the Europe or US, etc. Previously, when the war began, for sure, lots of people wasn't expecting that Russia will come immediately, but they come, and we were doing our best from Vodafone side regarding through our negotiation with government to make an evacuation, not only for Vodafone, but the rest of the people and the buses and the routes was agreed. But be fair, it was very tricky and very hard process. Lots of time Russian promised, but this corridor for evacuation wasn't open for simple, for just people who is not soldiers. It was hard and complicated, but we was doing maximum what we can do, and we also was helping our people to relocate either to Europe or to western part of Ukraine or to safe places. And still we are continuing to help.
And so I wonder, naturally, the IT sector must be a bit more flexible in this respect, in regards of relocations and this, flexible way of working. So, Victor, coming from the IT, obviously, how did Infopulse manage to ensure this business continuity and sustain other deliveries?
Well, I would refer to the same statement from Yaroslav that COVID helped us a lot to prepare, because during that time we really became capable of fully working remotely. So from that perspective, it was not a problem. But of course, when all that invasion has started, the key priority for us was security of our people, security of our employees. We had offices in Kharkiv and Zhytomyr. And that Zhytomyr was also, despite now it's kind of the occupied territory, but it was under big threat at some point of time. So we focused on evacuation of people from those dangerous places. We also have had people working remotely from other locations, like from Sumy, for example, or from Mariupol. We had.
So these are all the territories like at the western and the eastern part of Ukraine, which are getting shelled like every day.
Right. So we focused on moving them to safe territories. For them who are legally allowed, we proposed relocation to EU. We also have a lot of telecom customers. So we are not kind of on the IT operations from that perspective. Vodafone is our bigger partner in Ukraine, but we are working with a lot of European operators, like, for example, BICS, Proximus Group in Belgium, LMT in Latvia. So We have number of customers, and our second priority after the security of our people, it was to secure these operations and secure the service level for those service providers. I can say that we measured that our KPIs or SLAs were deteriorated not more than 10%. So we really secured high quality of service even in that kind of huge turbulence. Now, of course, we are focusing on the kind of building a new structure. We are focusing on our EU locations. We have now offices in delivery locations in Germany, Poland, Bulgaria. We also strengthened our office in Brazil. So now every new project, first of all, thinks how to distribute properly the team to have that to secure a bit of redundancy or ability to manage crisis in more effective way.
I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true, but you know, congrats on that delivery sustainability. But you must face some challenges as well, I suggest. So as of now, as the situation has been unfolding for 4 months now, what are the biggest challenges for you?
No, of course. I mean, the situation is not good at all. That's true. I mean, we do our best in order to secure the business, but it's not the easy task. I would say that the biggest problem in the beginning, it was effect on the people. I mean, the mental effect, that the people were really kind of not only in danger physically, but also very much suffering from the situation overall. Well, I think now we more or less stabilized. At least we were able to relocate most of the people, so we are kind of now more safe from that perspective. But currently, the biggest challenge for us is the limitation for traveling, because some of the projects, they really require our personnel be on site, especially for integration or heavy troubleshooting of telecom nodes, which needs to be or better to be done on site. And with these restrictions, unfortunately, we are limited with that. So I would say that from the business perspective, maybe that is the biggest challenge at the moment.
Okay, yeah, and it relates to the limitations for the employees. And continuing the topic of the employees and like the merge of the security and the employees topic, Yaroslav, I guess it will be interesting to find out how does Vodafone Ukraine ensures the security of internal Vodafone Ukraine personnel, and I mean cybersecurity, right? Because we know that attacks are almost constantly going in, but in the event of war, has there been any increase in recent attacks? And what are your steps to mitigate them?
Yeah, we were as much as strict to prohibit whatever is not used or used less. So we were closing lots of services which was not used. I'm saying about our employees, to have less capabilities to have some error or doing something wrong. That's first one. Second, the services which are demanded by our employees, maximum were transferred to be able to run only from Vodafone network. So physically, you should run from your phone connectivity, or you have like VPN connectivity, and you could not run it from outside. In such way, we are limited physically that nobody can access except our employees. Normally, we have a lot of access points from outside, access ways, but here we just limit it. And this physically helping much more than creating a lot of rules on firewalls, etc. Secondly, we put it as much more notifications, and was continuously saying awareness inside that please do not open emails which are coming from outside. And we are specifically marking such kind of emails. The person should be 100% sure that he is clicking or looking to the email which is coming from outside. Moreover, we know that in the email it should be some harmful internal object, could be virus or something else, as well as some harmful link. So we have normally we have sandbox which is working under the laptop, but we should understand that there is a delay. Firstly, person is opening file and going to sandbox, but during that time file is open and it starts to work and it can do harm. So we put it extra sandboxes, one on the input, on the, like say, border servers for all email which is coming, and not only email but traffic which is coming, and second inbox directly in the mail server, and we have third one which is working with laptop. All of them are from different vendors. And the funniest thing is that despite first sandbox is cleaning a lot, we really see clean a lot, more than 75% of emails was treated as spam or had some harmful links. The rest was passed. Some insight was cleared, but from 100,000 emails, 3 or 4 still was coming with some harmful inside object, which was found another sandbox. So what I'm trying to say is that despite you have really complicated and huge amount of different mechanisms, it doesn't guarantee your full security check. So we are checking 3 times and still we are finding even sometimes on the third part. That's why it is up to the level of acceptability, be fair. So now we are too crazy with what can happen, so we are doing like that, and especially the company is helping us a lot with free of charge license. In normal conditions, we are expecting that all of them should be enough. But the cases as is exist, and it helped a lot. So currently, it was no attacks found. All of them was mitigated, and that's good. Also, as I said, we are doing on 2 sides URL analysis, so we should be really thinking that all the URLs which are delivered even from outside is free of some viruses or some wrong content inside to our employees.
So basically, you need not to double check right now, but you need to triple check, and then you need to check it once again just to be sure that nothing passes out.
Let me triple check. 1. Second, close whatever you can do. Put under protection whatever you can do. I'm saying about the DOS part, and also work with the people. Mark the content which is from outside. Let them start to think under each email. Only in such way it could work.
If I may, I just wanted to talking about security a lot, and I think it's a very important topic because everyone at the beginning was afraid of that we will lose internet connection if something like this war would start. And without internet, of course, you're losing a lot of very important services, and the business is impacted and so on. And it's interesting that now I started to think that it was not even mentioned about the major outage in any telco network in not occupied, uncontrolled territories for all these 4 months almost. I remember only one outage for a couple of hours. We didn't have internet in Lviv normally, but then it was reported that the problem was on Polish side when the optical cable was broken. So I think it's a great job what telecom operators in Ukraine has done with this ensuring security and ensuring the reliability of the network. So I think it's really great achievement.
I mean, yes, this is the difference between what was expected and what was the real picture, right? So I remember preparing this like BCP and business continuity measures, and every single company was like, the first action point was, what will we do if the communication run out? And the reality was that the telecom sector was, it stood up to the challenge and really ensured the connection, which is quite amazing, I think, in this regard. So kudos for that, Vodafone Ukraine and all the telco sector. And the next topic I wanted to discuss is quite related to that, really, because it also relates to the establishing communication channels, but in a very tricky situation, right? So I know that Vodafone Ukraine went creative and went unusual and used the Starlink terminals to provide communication in some affected areas. I will not go into details, but I will leave Yaroslav to tell more about that, maybe some insights.
I will tell you honestly that innovative was Elon Musk, who actually managed to do that. And we just used his product and trying to be innovative in our field. Yeah. So under territories which is occupied and lately deoccupied, as I said, it was a dramatic and huge destruction of our equipment. So physically, transmission destroyed, equipment destroyed, and it wasn't possible even in 1 month to deliver the network to these places. But it was a lot of people who were staying there, and communication should be definitely be on these places. So thanks to Elon Musk, who really delivered to Ukraine, to government, and to us this Starlink, we have managed to put online during a couple of days very important regions like Bucha, Gostomel, Irpin, and to deliver to these big cities and even more internet, voice, and SMS capabilities. And the quality of the service is unbelievable, comparable to the normal transmissions channel usage. But under that, behind of that, there are pretty tricky and hard to configure points, which is based off communication by the satellite itself. And these tricky conditions, I think Victor can give more details, because from one side this looks like very easy, but in reality it is not so.
Yeah, I think, sorry, that's yeah. You want to
no, let's hear on that. Yeah.
Well, I think it was quite interesting project, and I think it was technically quite interesting to implement that Starlink connection as a backhaul transmission. I see that there are two sides of interesting technical challenge. First, like you correctly, Yaroslav, mentioned, but the satellite connection itself, it introduces a lot of the big delay, the big latency to the communication. And in order to handle that, normally there are special technical solutions for telecom. It's not something new. I mean, in many territories, operators are using satellite transmission as a connection for base stations. But in Ukraine, it has never been done before, really, because the country is quite well populated, quite well covered. So here we just don't need that type of solutions. And operators and Vodafone obviously didn't have that experience. And with the fighting with that delay is quite tricky, not because only the big value of that delay, but also it varies a lot in a very big, have a very big deviation and big kind of and big size. So I think that's quite interesting how that was solved, but obviously it was. And another interesting aspect of that is that in this situation, the communication is coming through the open internet, not to the closed transmission network. And operators in Ukraine, they are normally using this closed own transmission network or rented channels. But anyway, that is fully controlled environment. And using internet as a connection, as a backhaul to base station, it's I think it was experience, even maybe in Vodafone, because I know that there are a number of Pico base stations which are normally connected through the open internet. But such experience of having macro site connected through the open internet, I think that was first that type of experience. Well, I think Starlink is still very temporary solution, because it has not honestly enough reliability, and of course it doesn't have so much capacity as normal optical connection. But as a quick solution, as a firefighting, so to say, mode, that is working quite well. And I think now we might see even more usage of that, because now it opens the possibility to have, let's say, base station on track, so to say, which are coming to any point, and then you can very quickly put it on air. Of course, such solutions very well known in telecom world, but normally they are using microwave transmission, which requires a lot of more time and engineering power in order to set it up. And now you just switch on this Starlink terminal and you have connection to the network. So I think it was technically it was very interesting project. I'm curious really to know more about that.
So they say that the crisis is an opportunity, right? And this just might be an opportunity to try something new and something unconventional, especially in such a crisis conditions when communication is critical and there's an option. And we're, yes, thanks again to the Starlink and its creators for ensuring that and providing that to Ukraine. So we've touched so many topics already. And I think as a kind of a sum up, I'm curious, right? How do you see the influence of this entire list of topics and the impacts, both on the technical side, on the side of employees, psychology, and etc., on the current situation in Ukrainian telecom market, and maybe how it will be changed? And I think Victor could start by answering this question.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, the immediate impact is obvious, right? We need to secure operations in very difficult conditions. But I think all what is happening right now has also a strategic impact, or it will change the future strategy of operators. What I see, the key what will be changing is more focus on clouds, obviously, on public cloud and on private cloud, and also solutions based on that. I understand that it was already in the agenda of telecom operators for a long time, but I'm just saying that it will be much more focused on that trend, and will be maybe even mandatory requirement right now for all new solutions and systems. I see that there will be much more flexibility in how telecom operates in general, and of course, much more focus on security at all aspects, at all levels, even at the network architecture level. Yeah. Well, what else? Yeah, I think that overall that will change the direction. Maybe also some projects will require geo-redundancy, for example, from the very beginning. And again, it's not something new, but that will be a big shift towards this.
You mean it could become this push that the technology required?
Exactly. I think that will be now kind of more focused in that direction, and that opens a lot actually for IT, because telecom is becoming more and more IT company rather than technical telecom company. But I think Yaroslav has much more insights than me.
Yeah. So Yaroslav, what are your thoughts on that? Any summing up thoughts and opinions?
Actually, I agree with Victor. So from the way where we will look, but we should understand that we are talking right now with respect that the war will end and where we will move. But unfortunately, the war is far from being over. And currently, all the people right now, they more than united, and economy our is under big threat, and we are fighting fearlessly, be fair. Ukrainians all are together, and what the people doing are really some heroic things. Volunteers, the amount of money which is actually given by everybody. I can tell you that some of my unit managers and some directors spending almost like 70% of their salary just to help in our military guys and sponsoring our guys who is on the front line.
That's amazing.
Yes, politically, as you can see, we have a lot of different views, but now they're united. So one of the main tasks is only to finish this war with our win. And impact is actually, unfortunately, is for me is what I was never imagined before. My developers, my administrators, Unix administrators, some DevOps guys now on the front line, but before there was never even fighting or shooting. So they just said, Ukraine, I don't want to live in another country. I don't want to be Russia. And nobody understands why Russia is doing that. And because of that, I think we need to win. So unfortunately, the illusion which sometimes some people have, especially who are on the more safe side, it is just illusion. Just remember last week, 2 weeks ago, strikes by Kremenchuk, by Odessa. We saw that maybe it's not heavily announced in Europe or in other networks, but Kharkiv and Mykolaiv each day receiving more than 100 different artillery attacks and rocket attacks. It's just nightmare coming in these cities, and it's far from over. I really see that it is not normal war. As first of all, nobody was expecting that somebody could fight for some land in 21st century. But even if somebody will, it will be at least by some norms. No, it's barbaric, just purposeless war with just cities and going to be destroyed and fully wiped from the face of the planet. It is exactly a repeat of Second World War. That's the reality, and I hope we can win. But for that, we definitely need support. And who thinks that they're on the safe side? Everything could change, and so fast.
Yeah, and as we already saw at the beginning, like no one were prepared, and everything developed so quickly. So thank you for that concluding words, Yaroslav. The war is still going on. You're correct. Despite all the business and this other things we've discussed, we need to remember that. And I think that is it on the discussion topic today, and I am thanking our speakers that participated in this quite an insightful discussion that managed to cover so many topics. Hopefully for the audience they were interesting, and if yes, please let us know after this show. Please give us a message. But right now we still have some time for the Q&A session, and let me just check if we have any questions. And we do have some questions. I think I will start with this one from Martin. And that's the pretty interesting and basic question about the Vodafone employees. Do you have any Vodafone employees on the occupied territories right now? And what is with them?
Right now, no, but previously, yes. And we was heavily monitoring their phones. So we could exactly know geolocation, which is our phone of our employee is located, if he is online. So, and as soon as the phone in danger zone, for sure we leave in the phone working because we need to contact with this person. But regarding the account on our internal system was immediately blocked. It is for security reasons of the person itself, so he could be on safe place and not somehow harmed because of his job and what he can do. That's mainly what we was doing.
Well, okay, thank you for that. And that's another question we have from Angela, and she asks about public cloud in Vodafone. The question is, do you use public cloud in Vodafone? Which I guess goes to Yaroslav.
Good. So everybody's expecting that cloud should really help because it is the safe place and it should work. Yeah, it is true. The services which in the cloud will not be harmed. The main problem is that telco mainly providing services which is related to telco, so and related to transmission under this telco. So as soon as you don't have transmission, you don't have access to the cloud, and that is the problem. That not all application from telco side could be put to the cloud, because if transmission is destroyed, it's no matter. You couldn't just access your services because they should be accessed through transmission. The rest services which is not dependent from the transmission way, for sure could be and should be looked to be located to the cloud, but it should be somehow managed with easy possibility to move in and out from the cloud to on-prem if it is needed. So there is such procedure, and somehow we are successful with it. And we also prefer moving more to the cloud because we was highly regulated before. And currently, there are more options to do that, and we are doing wherever it is wise and applicable.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another kind of, I don't know if I could say this in this situation, a good sign, and maybe technology-wise, maybe a step towards the modernizing of infrastructure and etc. and etc. But still, lots of limitation and concerns to work with. Well, thank you for your answer, Yaroslav. And I think we've done it with the questions, and the time has come to conclude our discussion, which I hope was interesting, and both for speakers and for the audience. It was nice to have you, Yaroslav, with us. Thank you for participating and being, the part of one of the biggest operators in Ukraine, sharing your experience with us. We wish you speedy recovery, and we wish not only to Vodafone but only to the entirety of Ukraine and Ukrainian people, so that your business could grow and develop as before that. So thank you, Yaroslav. And
thank you for support to all people who are in Europe, because your support is really valuable and it helps us a lot. Stand with Ukraine, and thank you for support.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Thank you, Yaroslav. And goodbye. We'll see you in the next episodes of the TelcoTalks show, which will come soon. So please stay tuned.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you guys.